All right, welcome back to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have musician Steve Conte, whose new album Bronx Cheer is already out on Wicked Cool Records. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and for more album, there's the album cover right there, Bronx Cheer. How you doing today, Steve? Before I get into anything.
Good, Brett. How you doing, brother? Is it okay that
too.
I don't have headphones on? I'm just going through my computer speaker.
If you can hear me, if you can hear me, that's good with me.
Perfect. I'm good, man. Love the name of the podcast. Of course, one of my favorite bands has a song of that title.
Yes, that's where it came from.
I was suspecting as much.
Yeah, that was the album that got me, oddly enough, into the Replacements, and I worked my way backwards and then obviously forwards.
I think it was the one before that got me into him. Pleased to Meet Me. Yeah, and then I went back to Tim, and then I went back to Let It Be, and then Tim, and then by that time I was salivating, waiting for the next one. Then Don't Tell a Soul came out, and it was great, and I loved it all. And a little bit less on. Although I love the drumming because my drummer Charley Drayton is on it.
Oh, really?
I
didn't realize that.
It all shook down.
Yeah.
It was kind of more of a Westerberg solo album to me.
Yeah.
But then I just loved the Dead Man's Pop where they redid Don't Tell Us. They remixed it, or maybe they didn't remix it, but they let out the original mixes, which
right
makes it a whole different record. I mean, it's a real rock and roll record. It's not an '80s. Tons of reverb on the drums.
Yeah. I still prefer the original, but it was cool to hearing a different take on it. And I also like getting to hear those sessions they did with Tom Waits.
Yeah, I think I had those on bootleg, but I mean, Talent Show is like a whole different song. It's so rootsy, and I just love that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's me though.
I got to see them. The first time I got to see them, the only time when they were pretty much kind of the original band, was for Don't Tell a Soul when they were supporting Tom Petty.
Jealous.
They came through Chicago and they destroyed their instruments on stage, and I was a huge Tom Petty fan, but I was just starting to cross over to like alternative at that time. So it was like this weird in between stage where I loved both of them equally, but neither one of them had any place being on the same stage,
Well, they're both great songwriters, Tom and Paul. Right.
But they were just kind of at that point they were completely divergent in terms of.
Yeah, Tom was like, "Thank you so much." Here's my song. Hope you like it. And Paul's like,
Yeah. Well, and then they infamously broke up in Chicago, where I'm from, which is hilarious.
A lot of great bands out of Chicago, man.
Yeah.
The area, Cheap Trick, of course, Rockford, and
Cheap. Yeah. Cheap Trick is awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get into the album a bit. Bronx Cheer. This is this your? I apologize. I for some reason I'm blanking. This is your first proper solo album?
No. Well,
I know you've done a bunch of things, but I didn't know if this was your first act because you've come out with singles.
This is my first full length in since 2014's.
Okay. I thought maybe there was another one. Yeah.
So I did. I had my bands before. I had Company of Wolves. I had Crown Jewels with my brother, the Conte, and then my first band with my name in front was Steve Conte and the Crazy Truth, which was a band. It was me and two other guys, but I mean, I wrote all the songs and sang lead, and but we kind of created the sound together as that band. And then I did the Steve Conte NYC album.
Okay,
there was a Steve Conte solo album, but it was covers. That was International Cover Up. And then I did the Gimme Gimme Rockaway single. Single. And now this is my first full-length album of original music since 2014. Yeah. So.
Okay, I thought there was one, but I couldn't remember exactly. And I knew you had a band where you were Steve Conte and then you had the band with your brother, who's in on this album as well.
Yeah,
with Charley.
Yeah, he's on all my albums usually, except the only album my brother never did with me of music that I wrote was the international cover up. Oh, well, I didn't write that stuff. Was The Crazy Truth, because we had it was me and this kid who was my guitar student when he was 15. Yeah. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but you know, he's a couple years younger than me. But Lee Kostrinsky, his name is Liko. That's the only other bass player I've done my own a full album of my own music with. Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of guests on Steve Conte NYC. I had Sammy Yaffa from Hanoi Rocks and Dolls and Monroe on one track, and Keith Christopher, who was in the Georgia Satellites. Georgia Satellites was his band, in fact. Yeah. And he played with Dan Baird. He's on a track, and Dennis Dunaway from original Alice Cooper, bass player. Okay. On the track. But yeah, my brother's just the perfect bass player for me because, you know, we have the same. We grew up with the same record collection. I think that's sometimes the key to finding, you know, the people you should be playing with. Yeah, you get along well with your brother then. Yeah, and we don't, you know, I mean, you know, we have our disagreements, but you know, we're not like some of these brothers that like have fist fights and quit and scream at each other and act like babies. You know, we do more like psychological warfare on each other. Gotcha. And it was just like an instinctual thing to work with him, huh? Yeah, it's like I never have to say anything usually, and if I do, he doesn't have an ego about, well, I don't do that. You know, like he knows that it's my song, and if I hear this, or you know, he'll try it, and maybe he'll go, you know, I don't really like that, and I go, oh, we'll try something else, you know. But I knew when I was making this record, because also I was my drummer on this record, Charley Drayton, who I've played with before on the Conte's record, actually, the album my brother and I did. He was Keith Richards' drummer, The Expensive Winos, and we just played on tons of hit records, the Vinyls, P-52s, Replacements, like we mentioned before. Yeah. Merry-Go-Round, that's him, and Someone Take the Wheel. You know, just he has such a groove. And I knew that my brother was the perfect bass player to play with him, with Charley, and also, you know, we all just love soul music, the Stones, R&B, you know, groove music, you know. I mean, some of the stuff we play can go, you know, I took the guys out of their comfort zones a little bit, I think, on some of the like wilder, like more punky stuff, which I knew was going to be very interesting because it's not what they usually do. Right. So they had a totally different approach. Like if I would have got, you know, guys that are punk rockers, you know, it would have just sounded like normal punk rock, you know, but it sounds, it's got kind of a more of a R&B soul groove to it, you know, which makes it cool. Interesting, you know. Punk rock played by actual musicians. Well, that's my thing, I guess. Or it has been for the last almost 20 years, you know, since the New York Dolls. Yeah. Well, I have to admit, the first time I heard about you, I've become last several years, I've become a huge fan of Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius. Oh yeah, Sam, my man. First time I ever heard you was for "Gimme Gimme Rockaway," which is still, I mean, that's still a song. Like every time they play it, I'm like, you know, it's on this massive driving playlist I have too. Anytime that song comes on, I love that song, and it just reminds me. It reminds me of, I don't know, it's a classic, well-written, great rock song. And then you did the B-side on that was, I believe, Janis Joplin. Yeah, Janis Joplin, Mercedes-Benz with chords. Right, which you did with my buddy Jesse Malin. Yeah. Fellow New Yorker. Yeah. How far back do you go with him? I met Jesse, I guess sorry, I got a cough drop because I'm a bit scratchy. You're good. I guess around the time of the Dolls we met. I think, you know, I was aware of him. I guess I became aware of him around that time because he had Degeneration around that time, I guess. Yeah. When was Degeneration? Early 2000s? Mostly 90s. Oh, 90s? All right, so I wasn't aware of him then. You know, New York's a weird place. There could be like,
you could be right down the block from.
Yeah, we're right down the block, and you could not even know this guy or this band exists. So I never heard of Degeneration. Just like, you know, I never heard of Hanoi Rocks either. Well, I never heard their music.
Right.
Until I kind of joined up with Michael. But I think I heard of Degeneration. Yeah, maybe when the Dolls came out, so like early 2000s, 2004 maybe. And that's when we met. I think we met at a Dolls show. We came out. And, yeah, so, and, you know, he's on Little Steven's. I don't know if he was on Little Steven's label at that time.
No, but, he was, it's fairly, the last, I think 2 albums he's been on, Wicked Cool.
Yeah, so, but he was in the studio doing something with the same producer I was working with.
Yeah.
And he had come in and I was in there. I was like, hey, man, why don't you come back, you know, and later today and sing on this with me? And he was like, yeah, all right. So I had him sing on Rockaway. And then I forgot that I was supposed to, because this was, I was just doing a single.
Right.
And, you know, a vinyl single needs a B-side. And I completely forgot that I had to do a B-side, right? So I sent Clem Burke, the drummer from Blondie, he played on Rockaway, and Andy Rourke, the bass player from the Smiths.
Mm-hmm.
I sent them home because I was like, all right, great, thanks, guys. And they split, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to do a B-side. I completely forgot. And so I just started frantically making calls. I called my drummer from the Crazy Truth. He was like in Canada. I called my brother. He wasn't available. So I was like, shit, I got to get, I just yelled out into the Wicked Cool Records office, any drummers in the house? Literally, I couldn't find a drummer that was around. And one of the guys that was working there said, I play drums. I was like, get in here. And I taught the guy the song, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, didn't take, you know, it was no rocket science or anything playing that. And I played bass.
That was a cover.
Yeah, it's a cover, but you know, I mean, it had to be a certain, believe me, drums is, especially if you're out of shape, it's not an easy instrument to keep up and get tempo up. And I started as a drummer, so I know how easily you can lose your chops, you know. But this guy Jeremy, he did really well. And I played bass myself. And then I was like, well, I got to do something to make this a little more interesting. And I thought, you know, Jesse's coming back. Why don't I ask him to trade verses with me?
Yeah.
So he did that, and it was great.
Cool. Yeah. Because that single, then the new album, what I've heard of it so far, I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, but
shame on you.
it'll be in my rotation soon. But Flying is a really cool song.
Oh, thank you. Do you where did you hear it on? Or you do the streaming thing, or like Apple?
Little Stevens first.
But do you do any of those streaming services?
Yeah, on Spotify. I have this massive, nearly 10,000 song playlist, and I put Flying on there too.
Okay, well, the whole album is up on Spotify now, so
yeah.
You know, I try not to drive people there because I don't get paid. You know,
right.
But you know, I try and encourage people to actually buy the signed vinyl.
There you go.
This is the vinyl. This is going out to
there you go.
my neighborhood.
Oh, gatefold.
Yeah, look at that unmistakable profile there, huh?
That's a good shot.
My wife took it with a friggin' iPhone.
Really?
Yeah, crazy.
It's amazing what things could do.
I know. A friend of mine took this back cover. But yeah, I try and drive people towards the physical product because
that makes sense.
I grew up with physical product. I mean, you can hold it in your hands. You can read you know, hey man, who played on this? Oh, who wrote that? Who produced it? You know, I mean, you can't tell that off an MP3 or off a stream.
No. Well, tell me about so the album is on your website for sale?
It's on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And well, you know, it's probably on Amazon by now. I haven't looked, but the Orchard, the distributor is the Orchard, so it's wherever the Orchard puts music. I mean, they put it on Spotify, they put it on Apple Music, they probably put it on Amazon now.
But if you want to buy an actual album, probably Bandcamp is the place to.
Yeah, Bandcamp, Wicked Cool Records page on Bandcamp sells the records, but my Bandcamp page, Steve Conte Bandcamp page, sells the signed copies. You have to go to the merch tab, go to my page, and then you don't see the album listed there because it's not on my label. All the stuff on Bandcamp is on my label. But on the merch page, if you go there, which is like 3 tabs at the top, it's like music, merch, and then something else. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a link to it when I post this.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Go to the merch tab. It basically, because this is my studio here in the Bronx where I live. And basically, all those records, come from here. Right out of my little hand. I sign them and I put them in the envelopes and I autograph them and send them out myself. If you buy them from Wicked Cool, they just come out of the warehouse and, you still get the great music and the physical product, but not touched by me.
Right. So how are things in the Bronx right now? You're a lifelong resident, I gather.
Not of the Bronx.
No.
But I was born in New York State, upstate.
Really?
Lived in Buffalo. Kind of grew up the first 9 years of my life way up there. When I was 9, my father moved us down here just outside of Manhattan, which is like a major, 8-hour trip. So I never saw any of those friends again. My 4th grade friends. We wrote letters, pen pals for a while, and then we just kind of. I had 2 girls. I like this, by the way. I'm telling stories that I've never told in any interviews. I've been doing a million interviews about this.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to hit on something new. I had 2 girlfriends that were twins, twin sisters. They were both my girlfriend at the same time. and when I moved to from Buffalo to New Jersey, outside of Manhattan, we would send each other pictures and love notes and stuff, and that lasted like a year or 2, and then then you make your new friends in your new town. You kind of forget about the old people,
right?
So upstate New York, New Jersey, and then Manhattan. I lived in Manhattan for 30 years, and then moved to the Bronx 6 years ago.
Okay, all right. Now, why the Bronx? Why move there?
More space.
Yeah.
Manhattan is just getting more and more crowded and more expensive.
Right, that makes sense.
And, I would never be able to have my own studio space like this in Manhattan. I mean, we have a 3-bedroom place now. It's in an apartment building, but, I have 2 sons. They're little guys. Well, one's 6 and one's 12. And they have their room. My wife and I have our room, and then I get to have my own studio. In Manhattan, a place like this would be $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah.
So, that wasn't about to happen.
Right.
So we got lots of nice space, and I look out the windows and I see trees out of almost every window. I see bricks out of this one, but the way that it's laid out, in Manhattan, I would look out my windows and I'd see bricks out of every window. It sucked.
Yeah.
Bricks and traffic, and cars. And but I don't mind seeing the bricks out of this window because the way that my studio is set up, I have no one on any side of me. This side over here goes to the outside. That's where I see the bricks.
Right.
The front, there's a window in front of me. I see trees. This wall over here is my living room. That wall over there is my kitchen behind it. So I don't have a problem with neighbors. I have an upstairs and a downstairs neighbor, but I don't do anything crazy in here. I do acoustic guitars. I do tambourines. Shaker stuff, and I sing in here. But anytime I do like loud guitars or drums, I have a studio in Manhattan that I go into and where all my loud stuff is.
Gotcha. So what have you found that you enjoy besides the space you're in now? What are the other major differences about living in the Bronx? I mean, in my head, in my head, see, I've never been to New York City. So I tell this to Jesse every time I talk to him. I say I always have a certain idea of New York, and it's usually basically like Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah,
like it's a certain
Yeah, well, you're going back New York.
Fort Apache, the Bronx.
Yeah.
Like
You're probably picturing Fort Apache, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The French Connection or something.
But, like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, no, it ain't like that. Even the parts of the Bronx that those movies were filmed in, at the South Bronx, I don't think it's that bad anymore. But I don't even live in that part of the Bronx anyway. That's the East Bronx, famously, I don't know.
What part is Yankee Stadium?
Drugs and guns and, gangs and whatever.
Yeah.
I guess, on the worst, the worst part of the reputation of it. I'm sure there's some beautiful parts over there, but I live all the way on the west side of the Bronx. So I'm right near one of the perks of being on this side, besides that it's nicer, is that I'm a couple blocks away from the major highway that I can get on. I can have a car here, which I couldn't have. And I can get on the highway and I can drive upstate New York, get on the thruway, drive to Boston, up Woodstock, beautiful countryside, upstate, Poconos, wherever,
That's cool.
Yeah. So, it's an easy place to get away from. When I was in Manhattan, it'd be like, okay, you got to take a train. You can't have a car. You got to, everything you're thinking about is a train and a bus and and so sometimes you just end up staying in town all the time,
Right. Well, let's. Sorry, I got off the album.
All right, we can get back on.
Tell me a little bit about making the album. What is your process? Do you write a bunch of songs and then demo them out there in your studio, and then work on them in the outside studio, or how does it all work for you?
It's different for each song, but at the risk of repeating what I've said in other interviews about this, it seems like my basic MO from making albums is I have a handful of new songs, and I have such a backlog of songs. I've been writing songs since I was a kid, 10 or 11 years old. And I actually have put some of those songs on records, believe it or not. But I start with a handful of new songs that I feel go together. And I think, okay, what else can I, from my massive, back catalog of unreleased stuff, can I add to these that make sense, like a collection that, complement each other,
Right.
And so the new songs for this album were Sexy Lies, Those Sexy Lies. Let me look at my own song titles here. Wildwood Moon, Dog Days of Summer, and Those Sexy Lies. The Human Animal is from 2008, when I was in the Dolls. I remember writing that in Germany when we were on the road with the Dolls. So yeah, that's going back. Yeah, it's almost 15 years. Liar Like You is a chorus that I had since I was 15 years old. And I finally finished it off. Just got around to finishing it off, how many decades later. Recovery Doll was a song I wrote in 2004 when I was with the New York Dolls, and I actually presented it to them. It wasn't called Recovery Doll then. It had a different title. And I presented it to Michael Monroe as well, and both of them passed on it. So, hey, one man's junk is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
Flying is from 1994.
Wow.
Overnight Smash is also from 1994, and Guilty is from 1994. Yeah. So, but the thing is, I don't write trendy songs, trendy music.
Right.
I mean, my shit is not done on a laptop with loops and samples and auto tune. And so it's rock and roll, and rock and roll can be, you know, to me, these songs could have been written and recorded and released in 1971 or 81 or 91 or 2021. Right. It wouldn't matter, because it's got just timeless classic instruments, electric guitars, drums, tambourines, pianos, you know.
Right.
Nothing trendy about it at all. My Degeneration was another song that was probably from 2012 or so. That was presented to Monroe too. He didn't take it. And Give Me Rockaway is from 2017, 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all different eras of stuff, but I think it all hangs together. What do you think?
I mean,
you haven't heard the whole album?
I haven't heard the whole album. No, I haven't heard the whole album. But I like what I've heard so far. So that, you know, I'm going to be listening to it soon, I'm sure. And I apologize for not listening to it before.
It's all right. I've been getting a lot of great comments from fans and, you know, buyers of it who just say it's great to have some, you know, just total rock and roll. You know, to me, it's, I think if I have to compare it to something, I would say it's most like a Stones album between 78 and 82. Like Some Girls, Emotional Rescue, Tattoo You. Because that's the era when they were kind of reacting to punk, but they were still holding on to their blues and R&B roots.
That's a good time period.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite time period of the Stones is actually, you know, Beggar's Banquet, and a little before that, actually.
What was the album?
What is it? Some of Satanic Majesties, but you know,
I personally love Satanic Majesties.
I like the psychedelic Stones. Some of it's silly, but She's a Rainbow and Dandelion. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I guess the classic 4 albums that everyone talks about is
Beggars, you know, Let It Bleed.
Let It Bleed is the one. If I had to pick one Stones album, Let It Bleed is it for me.
That's pretty perfect.
And that's all Keith. I think Brian Jones plays auto harp on one song, and Mick Taylor plays maybe acoustic guitar and country honk, but otherwise all the leads, everything is Keith. So
because that was that in between period.
Yeah, they didn't have Taylor yet.
And,
Brian was Sympathy for the Devil. He was drugged out.
Yeah.
So you know, the favorites are Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and
Exile.
You know, people talk about Exile. I do love Exile, but I think there's a lot of B material on Exile.
I guess I love that whole album, but it's not like some double albums where, I mean, nowadays it's almost like one full album. You know,
there's some like moody stuff, like, you know, Just Want to See His Face, and
I like it. I did that one, but I don't know if so the problem is when you get to double albums, it's harder to say whether or not something's a masterpiece because there is that indulgence. But I like it for all of its myriad ideas and attempting to reach a boy. Was that a mess of an album to make, apparently?
Right. I mean, I've heard the stories, you know, in the basement in France, and everybody's junked out, and you know, the cops
would work in the middle of the night. Mick would work during the day.
Yeah, there's a leaky basement. You know, I've heard all the stories, but you know, it ain't the White Album. You know, I mean, the White Album to me is like, that's a double album masterpiece. You know, and Prince's Sign of the Times, you know, by Prince.
Yeah.
That double album masterpiece. I don't think Exile is that. There's some great songs on it, believe me. Of course, you know, Tumbling Dice and Soul Survivor and Happy, and you know, just great shit on it. But I think you can make a killer single album out of it. But you know, I love the playing on it. Rocks off, you know. Anyway, so but my album is not like that. It's you know, later sounding. You know, it's doesn't have a Miss You or Emotional Rescue disco song on it, but it's definitely got some you know, respectable, you know, live kind of feels on it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, because you were mentioning these songs are from all over the place. Do you have like detailed, like, you know, like boxes filled with notebooks and stuff?
Oh, I have a drawer full.
Yeah.
These are my lyric books. They keep coming, man.
You're kind of like I was when I was younger, when I would write like a bunch of stuff. I still have them in storage. I have all these different notebooks filled with ideas and stuff.
But you know what has replaced? I mean, and this is a fraction of my lyric books. You know what has replaced these? Let me show you.
Yeah, it's a little stick, right?
That app right there.
Oh,
Notes.
Okay. You know,
I mean, now I'm walking down the street, I open up a note, I hit microphone, and I talk my lyric ideas into here, or I sing them into voice memos. That's replaced all the cassettes. I have piles of cassettes. You know, that stuff probably ended in around 2010. When I got my first iPhone, I kind of stopped writing in notebooks. Unfortunately, I've had this notebook. This has been my latest lyric notebook. I've had this since 2012, and I still have all of these empty pages in it. Right? I mean, there's ideas in it, but
you
know, mostly I go to my phone.
Yeah. Do you back that thing up?
Oh yeah, then all my notes are in the cloud.
Okay, so the cloud, right? Because you got Apple.
Yeah, and if I'm walking around outside and I go, what was that song? Oh, I think I got a line for that song, but I don't know if maybe I wrote that already. Let me look, and I can, you know, as long as I'm somewhere where there's Wi-Fi or you know, not Wi-Fi, but even just you know, service, to my T-Mobile service, I can see what's on my phone in the cloud. And
you know, that's excellent.
And if I'm somewhere where there's no service, I just write it in my notes, and then later when I get home on Wi-Fi, it automatically updates, and it's the same in my computer and my phone on the cloud, you know.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing that we've entered this age where you can? It's made some things. I mean, in one idea, these phones have made it at least not taking down as many trees for notebooks.
Yeah, that's probably killed some companies, but you know.
But I mean,
I'm sure they cut down some
more trees. So
yeah, I'm sure they've killed more trees for McDonald's hamburgers and grazing of cattle. You know, anyway.
Yeah.
But
what was I gonna ask? Sorry,
it's all right. Lyrics, writing.
But no, it's just and you recorded this. You did the actual tracks where again?
I did the tracks in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Studio called Atomic Sound.
I've heard of it.
We cut the tracks in a weekend, basically, 2 days.
Good.
You don't need any more than 2 days with Charley Drayton and John Conte on bass.
Yeah.
And my tracks. We recorded everything live. The rhythm tracks anyway. Right. So when I left the studio, I had 10. Rockaway was already done, of course.
Right.
Added that on later. So the first 10 songs on the album, we had my rhythm guitar, bass, and drums finished 5 songs a day. You know, we do a couple of tapes and then pick the best one, and we recorded it to analog tape, 2-inch tape, old school Studer tape machine, you know, tape this thick.
Oh yeah.
We'd do a couple of takes on the reel, pick the best one, dump that into the computer, and then go back and we just use the same reel of tape going over and over again. But just so we get that real tape saturated, you know, old school warm sound.
Yeah.
And then I did the rest, you know, to digital. And everybody's got great, you know, this is my microphone. I came home and I did a lot of stuff at home. I'm doing a commercial here for Universal Audio. They don't even give me anything for free.
What is that?
Universal Audio Apollo, it's called. This is a 2-channel microphone preamp, and it's got
okay.
It sounds great, and it's got all kinds of other stuff in it, but it's just 2 channels, which is great for home. You know, I recorded a lot of my acoustic guitars through that.
Yeah.
Here, like for flying, the 12-string. I have the that's over there. Even the 6-string, I think I recorded here. The ukulele that's going.
Yeah.
That here. Tambourines, I played all that stuff myself. Percussion, shakers, background vocals. I had one of the background vocal girls come here, and you know, I have a nice mic. I don't know if you can see it. There's my microphone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't use my Wurlitzer piano, but it's sitting there. Yeah, and then we did the tracks in a weekend at Atomic, and then I did overdubs at my loud studio in Manhattan. My brother and I have a space where we have all our amps, and I pulled out my old Marshall. I have a 67 Marshall Plexi. I pulled that out. Vox AC30 from the early 60s. All my guitars, and you know, did all the loud stuff there, the solos and everything. And then I went to my co-producer, Andrew Hollander's studio, and we did vocals. Because I really wanted, it's hard to produce yourself on vocals. I mean, I've done it, but it's, you know, I can get nuts with it and start kind of punching in, you know, too many words and whatnot. And I would just let my co-producer, Andy, tell me when he thought I had peaked. You know, because if you do five, I just like to run through a song and just sing it. You know, some people stop. Oh, stop! I fucked up. Let me, you know, go back and punch in. I would just go through the song, plow through it, even if I make mistakes, and that way, to me, you get the more of a feeling of live. You know, because I fuck up live, sure. So does Mick Jagger. He forgets the words all the time.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and then just go back and you find the performances that are best. Like, okay, I like this first half of take 1, the second half of take 2. You know, but it's nice to have somebody else in there telling you, all right, you've gone too far now. You've gone past it. You know.
Yeah.
Your voice was better 2 takes ago. Let's stop it.
You know? I get it. I get that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You know, you played with Little Steven's Disciples of Souls for a bit, right?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I only jammed with Steven once. No, Steven came and jammed with us with the Dolls one time. We played his like New Year's Eve party at the Hard Rock in Times Square, and that's the only time I've ever been on stage with him.
Oh, I thought I saw a credit where you were with the Disciples of Soul for some reason.
No, never.
Well, that was incorrect then. I apologize.
All right.
But how did you come about to be on Wicked Cool? I mean, how did that whole thing work out?
Let's see. You know what happened? I met Steven back when we were, well, first of all, Steven's from New Jersey, where I was growing up.
Right.
And his cousins and I lived in the same town. So I knew his cousin, like, since we were, you know, this big. What
was the town?
It's called Matawan.
Okay, I've heard of it. Yeah, no, I have family out that way, so.
Yeah, it's a suburb of New York City. You know, it's not even it's 50 minutes away from New York City. So, you know, as a kid, I would take the train in less than an hour and be in Madison Square Garden to see Led Zeppelin, The Who, whatever. You know, it was amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, to be able to be that close. But yet, you know, suburbs, you know, housing developments and strip malls and all that shit.
Yeah.
Which, you know, sucked in a way. It made you bored as a kid, so then you got into trouble, you know, which happened. But I knew Steven's cousins, Damon and Lisa. Lowe. The last names are really confusing here because Steven was adopted by his stepfather. His real last name is Lento. He's Italian.
Yeah.
And my friends Damon and Lisa, their last name is Lowe. Their mom was also a Lento. but she married a guy named Lowe. So.
Right.
But so I had no idea that these guys were related to Steven. Somehow it came up one day. Oh yeah, my cousin Steven plays in Bruce Springsteen's band. Like, really?
Wow.
You know. So I had
That's a pretty big thing for out that way to have.
Yeah, for Jersey, because everybody was Bruce crazy. And back then, you know, in the 70s, I was into like Aerosmith and Zeppelin, loud guitar rock. I wasn't into like, you know, I loved Dylan as a younger kid. But then kind of when I got into like, you know, when I got Les Paul and I discovered, you know.
Oh, you want to rock.
Yeah, I discovered Jimmy Page and Joe Perry and Richie Blackmore, you know, and Hendrix. Jeff Beck. I wanted to rock, so you know, a guy with a mic with a, you know, a harmonica stand and a playing acoustic, Sandy, you know, I wasn't into it. I mean, of course, years later, I actually really love Bruce. He's an amazing artist, songwriter, you know, incredible. But so I wasn't, you know, so impressed that, you know, that he was played with Bruce, but you know, it's like I became aware of him, and we didn't really meet until I joined the Dolls, and you know, he wanted to produce the first Dolls album, the reunion album, and well, it didn't work out, but we played his New Year's Eve show, like I said, and I ran into him. We played South by Southwest, you know, in Austin. And I ran into Steven there, and I had a copy of my record, The Crazy Truth, Steve Conte and The Crazy Truth, and I gave it to him, and then I never heard from him. And he was with his wife. I think he immediately handed it to his wife, Maureen. She put it in her bag, and I don't know if they ever listened to it. Then I didn't hear from him for months, and so I mailed him another copy. I mailed to his office another copy. Still didn't hear anything from him. And so I just went about my business and made my next record, the Steve Conte NYC. And I sent a copy to his wife, and she played it around the house one day, and Steven heard it and said, "Who's this?" She said, "That's Steve Conte." He was like, "What? Who knew?" So, you know, he didn't really, maybe he just associated me as, oh, I'm the guitar player from the Dolls, you know.
Right. That you
didn't really know.
That does your own thing.
You know, maybe I was just like, it was a vanity project. He didn't know been writing songs since I was 10 years old, you know.
Yeah.
So he was super impressed, you know, said it was one of the best records of the year and gave me coolest song of the world, and, you know,
excellent.
number 2 coolest song in the world that year, just under some guy named Bruce or something or other.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, but so that's how I met Steven, and you know, he loved the record, and then you know, his label people reached out to me, who were actually, the guy who runs his label was a fan of my anime music. I don't know if you know Cowboy
Bebop. With Yoko Kanno.
Yeah, so you know, there's all this big buzz now about Cowboy Bebop because there's a Netflix series coming out.
Yeah.
But this guy who runs the label, Dennis, was a fan of that work of mine. So
Dennis Mortensen?
Yeah, Dennis Mortensen. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Great guy. So he reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, how'd you like to do a single for Wicked Cool?" I said, well, I'm ready to do an album. He's like, "Well, we're not really doing albums." This was back in 2015 or 16.
Right.
And I said, "All right, I'll do a single, sure." So that's when I did the Rockaway thing. And then I think, after NYC, they played one of the songs from my international cover-up, my covers album. Somebody's going to get their head kicked in tonight. Did you hear that one on Underground?
I don't think I've heard that one, no. But I've been listening to that new channel they have where they just play, like, you know, all the
the coolest songs.
big songs, yeah.
They don't show up on there. I'm on a lot of coolest songs, even other people that you know, records that aren't my name, you know. I'm on I heard yesterday, I was listening, I heard myself on 3 different, I heard a Dolls song from the One Day It Will Please Us record. I heard one of mine, Mark Rivera, who plays with Ringo and Billy Joel, sax player, one of his. So yeah, that's a really cool station.
Yeah, I
but
really love it.
I had done that one. He had played that record too, the covers record, and then they wanted me to do the single. And after the single, I guess that was 17. So probably 2019, Dennis started calling saying, you want to do another single? I said, I'm ready to do an album. And Steven was like doing the Disciples of Soul. He was really busy. I said, you know what? I'm just going to do the album myself, and I'll play it for you guys when I'm done. So I paid for it myself, did it myself, and went to them and afterwards and said, here it is. They're like, yeah, we love it. We want to put it out. And so now I have like the full length record on that.
Yeah.
And we're already talking about another single for next year. So
yeah, because they did start out with just doing singles, but then they've moved into more album stuff, and they've got. I mean, they do stuff with Jessie. They did. Why am I blanking on her name? She was in Little Steven's band, and I just talked to her last. Jessie. Oh, I'm blanking on her last.
Oh,
name.
Jessie Wagner.
Jessie Wagner. Yeah. They put out her album last year.
Yeah, but they started out. Wicked Cool started out doing albums, I think, because the Chesterfield Kings were like a big, album thing. When the Dolls came out, we were on Little Steven's Underground Garage Tour. That's another thing I did with Steven.
Yeah.
That
might be what the thing was meant to say, perhaps. I don't know that the credit on there's a credit on your Wikipedia page that has something about Little Steven, but I thought it said that you were part of Disciples of Soul. So either I read that wrong or it's wrong. I forget.
Well, you know what? My Wikipedia page, I have no control over it.
Right.
I've tried to correct things on there, and they say, no, you're the guy. You can't correct your own page.
Well, maybe I'll go in there and try to correct it for you.
Yeah. So people have written all kinds of fake shit on there, that I had to try and get someone else.
Most of it jibed up with everything else. I had just written that one down in haste and didn't check it, so that's on me.
It's all good, man. But they started out doing because we did that Underground Garage tour with the Chesterfield Kings. They were a band that Steven was really behind, very 60s, like 60s Stones, Yardbirds kind of thing. Yeah. And we toured with them and the Super Suckers.
Oh yeah.
The Dolls, Super Suckers, Chesterfield Kings. So that's why I thought, I could do a full album with Wicked Cool, because they were doing Chesterfield Kings albums. But then I guess at a certain point they stopped doing albums and focused more on singles. Sorry, let me just I went to my phone here, man.
No problem.
So I kind of lost my train of thought here, but anyway.
We were talking about Wicked Cool, and you were
so that's how I got on Wicked Cool. It was finally time for another release, and I did my own record and turned it in basically, and Steven loved it, and he weighed in on what he thought the singles should be, and I said this is my title concept, my cover concept, my my song sequence, and he agreed with all of it, and he just picked the singles, which were Recovery Doll.
Right.
He didn't even pick the order of them, but he just said it's got to be these four: Recovery Doll, Dog Days of Summer,
Flying.
No, Flying with hold on, Recovery Doll, Dog Days of Summer, and Overnight Smash, and Those Sexy Lies. And then what happened was the record got pushed back. It was supposed to come out in September.
Right.
Or maybe it was October, and it got pushed back to November. So they had to add another single in between. Otherwise, because we were doing pre-orders for the album, otherwise it would be too long without people hearing anything new.
Right.
They said, we got to pick another song. And I would have never picked a 6-minute ballad to do, as a single. But the director, Peter Perenyi, who had fell in love with the song and wanted to make a video for it, he just made this gorgeous video. And I said, Well, Wildwood Moon is really the obvious choice for the next single, but I've just done this amazing video for Flying, so let's make that the fifth single, which actually got released before what was supposed to be the fourth single, Sexy Lies.
Right.
The last one, November. And that's the story.
Yeah, no, and what I've heard so far, I have heard more of the album than I thought, that because I've heard a lot of these songs then on his channel, but I just didn't realize I didn't realize I was hearing all the songs from the new album, I guess.
Did you hear Recovery Doll? I
think I did. I'll have to, if I listen to it again, but Flying is the one for some reason that stuck out in my head. So
I'm getting my guitar so I can play you the riff.
Okay.
So on to pick. You never find one when you need one. Recovery Doll is the one that goes.
Yeah, I've had to.
That one?
I've had to.
Oh, boy. Oh man, this guitar's been sitting there untuned for too long. Unplayed for too long. And the video is this crazy, like animated virtual reality.
Okay.
Go on YouTube after and look it up.
Yeah.
Like Steve Conte YouTube page.
Yeah, I'll share some links to videos and stuff too.
Yeah, Dog Days of Summer is another one that I did over the summer in the Netherlands with my my filmmaker mother-in-law. She made the video for me.
Oh wow!
And my kids are in it. My sons and my wife is in it. It's a really fun video, really homespun kind of thing. Yeah. And then this Flying video. So I've done 3 videos. This is the most videos I've ever done for an album.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a lot of videos in the modern era, honestly.
Usually I do like 1 per album. You know, the NYC album I don't believe I did any videos for, which I kind of regret. I was gonna. But
nowadays, like we've gotten, back when like in the 90s, there was that move away from the expensive videos to like a lot of handheld camera and a lot of low college filmmakers and stuff like that. So you got this different quality to get away from the increasing budgets of music videos at the time. And now we've gone into a time where Steven Soderbergh's making movies with an iPhone. It's like, so it's swung completely the other way, where you could make a movie using a damn phone now. It's like
right. High Flying Bird is supposedly done. You know that movie?
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch it, but that was filmed all on iPhone. I have that bookmarked on my Netflix, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's crazy. He did at least 2 of those on just iPhones.
Yeah, I mean, I've been the recipient of a couple of those high budget. Well, recipient maybe isn't the right word. Indebted to the record label for the.
There you go.
For the
that's the better term.
Recoupment.
Pay for something that doesn't even pay for itself.
Yeah, exactly. I think they would give us $100,000 or maybe $50,000.
Oh my God!
$50,000 to make a video. Like my band Company of Woes, Mercury. We flew over to Scotland and we did the video at this castle, with the Monty Python and the Holy Grail was filmed, and we had all these wolves, and it was just nuts, man.
20,000.
That's what you did in 1989. That's what you did with you.
Yeah.
Like the record company loved our demos, and they said, okay, we love you guys. Now let's make a record. We love your demos. They're amazing. I was like, well, why don't we just like press the demos? No, you can't do that. You have to take this, gigantic budget and spend all the money,
Right.
Yeah. And hire this producer. And I'm sure, they're hiring their buddies and suggesting their buddies, and maybe everybody's doing each other favors, and who knows,
Yeah.
We were young and dumb, and you just do it. But if a record company gave me that kind of money these days, I'd buy my own studio. I'd buy my own tour bus. Then they give you $100,000 or whatever to go out on tour. And you got a tour bus and a trailer and a truck. We had a truck driver.
Right.
Well, you burn through $100,000 in a couple of months.
Right. And then you make the however much from the show, and that's your money.
Oh, we never even knew. We never saw any of that money. It was all like promotional,
Yeah.
So, live and learn.
Well, I don't
learn before you die.
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I figured I'd end on a couple of light questions. What are recommendations for, especially because now you're in the Bronx 6 years, so you should know your neighborhood pretty well. If somebody's going to the Bronx and they want to get a bite to eat there, what is a recommendation in the Bronx? Maybe some places you don't necessarily want to be overwhelmed with patrons or anything, but still something you can recommend. Like, because I don't know, I used to write about the food business. I know a fair amount about Manhattan and Brooklyn restaurants. I don't know anything about Bronx restaurants.
Well, listen, I can't tell you the name of a restaurant per se, but Arthur Avenue is the Italian food capital. That's the Little Italy.
Okay.
It's the real Little Italy,
Right.
I think it was Little Italy before the Manhattan, Mott Street.
Right. Because Mott Street's mostly Chinese now.
Yeah, Mott Street is Chinese, but there's a block part on Mott Street where it turns from Chinese into Italian,
Yeah. There's like a block.
Like Mott and Grand and Hester and around there. Right. But
I think that was a joke on The Sopranos.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Arthur Avenue in the other side of the Bronx. I'm on the west side, so I can't really recommend too many places where I live because, my neighborhood there's basically two blocks of civilization, where I live. And there's just not that many choices. That's the one thing I miss about Manhattan. It's like you can walk out your door and there's dozens of restaurants on your block.
So the Bronx is not known much for its food.
Not my area.
Right. Okay.
Not my area.
How far do you have to go before you go to a restaurant?
We got a Jewish deli here that's pretty good. We got a tapas place that's okay. We got an Indian place that's okay. I mean, everything's like okay.
Okay.
Not bad. We order all the time from there. I rarely go out, especially since COVID, and sit in the restaurant.
Yeah, I get that.
But I wouldn't say any of it compares to restaurants I've been to in Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan. Brooklyn. Though Brooklyn is got a pretty good is given Manhattan a race for its money.
Oh yeah. Well, in every way, in the arts, in the the hipster quotient, the artists have all moved out there.
It's amazing. I mean, I used to think of Brooklyn the same way I used to think of the Bronx. I mean,
it used to be that way until 20 years ago or so. I had friends that, were renting entire warehouses and living in them for under $1,000 a month, which was unheard of. Now those places are co-ops that cost, $5 million,
Right.
But, everything has moved out there, and we still got a couple joints in Manhattan where you can play. The Cutting Room where I just did my album release party, the Bowery Electric.
Jesse's place.
Yeah, and the Bowery Ballroom, the Mercury Lounge. Yeah, but there used to be a ton of clubs in Manhattan, and now there's like a handful.
Yeah.
But restaurants, even my favorite, probably because of COVID, but also because of the rents have just gone up and up because there's more rich people willing to come in and pay higher rents, and maybe parents, buying places for their kids to go to college and whatever. Rich, it just drives the prices of everything up. So a lot of my favorite restaurants have been forced out. There was a restaurant called Peasant. I don't know if you knew that in Manhattan on Elizabeth Street.
Heard of them? No.
Italian restaurant was amazing. The chef and owner, he cooked there every night. Every time I went in, he was always there. Frankie DiCarlo.
Yeah.
He moved his place out to Brooklyn, and now I think he's even lost that place and went out to Long Island. So the rent thing here really sucks for the arts and keeping prices down. Of when you want to go out to dinner, man, you don't want to pay
No, what are
$250?
No, you can't. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, I know Queens is kind of like the multicultural area of New York right now, and you still got Staten Island, which is whatever. That's you got to take a ferry to get to it. So who cares about Staten Island? I guess, but
no comment.
Staten Island is the bastard child of New York, isn't it?
I mean, I know a lot of musicians from Staten Island, great musicians.
I know, but everybody dumps on Staten Island.
I mean, the drummer from Company of Wolves, Frankie LaRocca, was from there. Yeah. Tommy Price, who I played with Robert Gordon, he's from there.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys from the Johansson band, of course.
Wu-Tang, a lot of Wu-Tang members are from Staten Island too.
Right, the whole band Wu-Tang is from there.
Yeah.
I've
never been. I just know it has a bad reputation. Is all.
It's also
as Jersey to New York, but
yeah, kind of. But I ain't gonna talk bad about it because maybe some of my fans are from there. I love you, Staten Island.
I know. I'm just making a joke.
No, it's all good. But I mean, sometimes I shoot my mouth off and say stuff, and I lose fans.
Yeah.
I talk about politics or whatever.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm sure just your front your cover. I mean, is a picture from an anti-Trump protest. So it's like that.
Oh, so you know about that? Okay.
Yeah. If people know about,
I almost regretted
people might be pissed off about that.
I almost regretted saying that in my press release, but you know what? Fuck it, man. That is what it is,
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not why I love the photo. I saw the photo and I was like,
it's a cool photo. Actually, I thought that was a photo because I wasn't looking closely at anything going on. The kid looks like he's from like decades ago.
Yeah, it looks very, and we made it more sepia tone so that it looks like, but it was a black and white photo anyway. Yeah. But we just we blurred it out. Also, we couldn't get the permission of some of these kids on the other side.
Right, so you blur them out.
To be in the photo. So I did find this kid, and he agreed to it. But I mean, I loved the photo first. I saw it in New York Magazine, and then when I found out what it was from, I was like, oh, that just sweetens it even more, because it's such a striking image. I mean, the kid's got so much anger.
Oh, yeah.
And then I found out what the anger was about, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. I hear you. No, I agree. I agree. Well, Steve, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And of course, I'll be listening to more of the album, and we'll share your Bandcamp and links to your videos and all that stuff. This is actually going up tomorrow, so the response will be pretty quick.
Okay.
To everything, and I didn't even ask you though. What about touring?
Touring, I've just done the one gig for my record release, and then I put together a really great band for that, which I probably can't afford to take out with me because it's two backup singers and a keyboard player and my brother on bass and Brian Delaney from the Dolls on drums. And so I have to kind of think about how I can streamline this. What usually happens is I make a great record with like a lot of layers, I don't just record like a trio, but when I end up going out, I usually just end up going out as a trio again because it's really easy. Guitar, bass, and drums. I sing and play, and I got two other guys, and it's a band. Bass and drums, and it's a band.
Yeah.
So I need to, put together the right bunch of people to do the songs from this album justice. So I may need a month or two to put that together.
So
and then I'm thinking maybe early next year I'll start doing some stuff.
Okay, so we'll look for maybe dates in the new year then.
I hope to play Chicago. It's always a challenge also to get, that far away from home because you kind of got to get one really good paying gig and then, so if I can get a festival or, a good opening slot with, Cheap Trick or somebody.
Yeah, there you go.
Then it would make it worth it to come out that far,
I get you.
Yeah, right. But if you come to New York, man, look me up. And
I will,
please, tag me in you got me on Facebook, all
that stuff.
Instagram.
And I'll send it to your guys at the PR too.
Yeah, so let me tell your viewers here. SteveConteNYC.com is my website.
Yeah.
It's also Steve Conte NYC on Facebook is my music page. I believe it's Steve Conte NYC on Twitter.
Right.
Might just be Steve Conte on Instagram. Bandcamp is Steve Conte.
Yeah. We'll have all those links set up when we post the interview.
All right. Great. All right, Brett. Thanks, man.
Yeah, you have a great rest of your day, okay?
All right, you too.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye-bye.